Listen, there comes a moment in every woman's life when the world stops speaking and her soul begins. A moment when she looks at her reflection and realizes that the person staring back is not the version she has been living as, but the queen she has been avoiding. A queen's power has never come from how loudly she demands recognition, nor from how many people applaud her decisions. Her power is rooted in something far deeper, far older, and far more unshakable: self-mastery. The ability to control her inner world, to remain centered when everything around her becomes chaotic, to understand that her value is not determined by the shifting opinions of those who barely understand themselves. This is the foundation of her strength. When a woman seeks approval, she becomes dependent on something she can never fully control. People are inconsistent, emotions shift, opinions change like the wind. If a woman ties her identity to that kind of instability, she will always feel uncertain, always feel not enough, always feel like she is reaching for something that slips through her fingers the moment she grasps it. But a queen is different. A queen understands that the world's approval is a temporary echo, while her self-mastery is a permanent source of power. She does not chase applause because she has learned to validate herself from within. Self-mastery is not about perfection. It is about awareness. It is about the ability to sit with your own thoughts and not be controlled by them. It is about facing the parts of yourself you once avoided, the insecurities, the fears, the doubts, and using them as fuel for growth instead of evidence of weakness. It is about turning inward when life becomes overwhelming, rather than collapsing under the pressure of external noise. This inner strength is what allows a queen to walk with certainty even when the path is unclear. A queen who has mastered herself does not react to life, she responds. She does not panic, she observes. She does not allow the emotion of a single moment to become the definition of her entire identity. Instead, she cultivates a calm presence that allows her to navigate situations with clarity. She understands that emotional discipline is not suppression. It is control. It is the ability to experience an emotion without allowing that emotion to dictate her behavior. This is one of the highest forms of strength a woman can ever develop. Most of the suffering a woman experiences comes from forgetting her own power, forgetting that she has the ability to redirect her focus, forgetting that she can choose her response, forgetting that no one else has the authority to define her worth. Self-mastery is the process of remembering who she is, remembering what she carries, remembering the quiet resilience she has built over years of surviving battles that others know nothing about. Approval is external. It changes. It fades. It is conditional. But self-mastery is internal. It is stable. It grows. It becomes unbreakable. When a woman chooses to cultivate her inner discipline, to prioritize her emotional and spiritual alignment, she evolves from someone who is influenced by the world to someone who influences the world. Her presence becomes commanding not because she seeks dominance, but because she has mastered her own energy. And this mastery reflects in every area of her life. In her relationships, she does not cling. She does not accept disrespect. She does not allow inconsistency to disturb her peace. Her boundaries become firm not out of fear, but out of a deep understanding of her value. In her work, she does not crumble under pressure. She remains focused, intentional, aligned. She knows where she is going and refuses to be distracted by noise. In her personal life, she honors her growth, invests in her peace, and surrounds herself with people who reflect the level of respect she has cultivated internally. A queen who is grounded in self-mastery becomes untouchable, not because challenges no longer exist, but because she no longer falls apart when they appear. She has trained herself to remain steady, to breathe through adversity, to observe her emotions without becoming dominated by them. This internal liberation is what creates an aura of strength around her, a presence that others feel even before she speaks. Confidence built on approval is fragile. Confidence built on self-mastery is eternal. This is why a queen rises from within, not from the world around her. She understands that true power is not something she acquires, it is something she awakens by learning to master her own mind, her own spirit, and her own perception of who she is and who she is becoming. A queen understands something most people never learn. Not every energy deserves entry into her inner world. She has learned, often through painful experience, that absorbing the emotions, insecurities, and chaos of others is the fastest way to lose herself. And so she becomes intentional, careful about what she allows to touch her spirit, selective about what she gives her attention to, and deliberate about where she places her emotional investments. This is not selfishness, this is survival, this is wisdom, this is self-respect. There was a time when she believed she had to carry everything. Other people's moods, other people's problems, other people's expectations. She believed that empathy meant self-sacrifice, that kindness required self-abandonment, and that love demanded emotional exhaustion. But as she grows into her queenhood, she realizes that absorbing the storm of others does not calm them. It only drowns her, and no queen can rule her life while she is drowning. So she learns the art of choosing energy, not reacting to it, not absorbing it, not being shaped by it. She understands that energy is contagious, and if she does not guard her space, she becomes a reflection of the very chaos she is trying to rise above. She recognizes that some people bring peace, some bring growth, some bring lessons, and some bring destruction. To treat them all the same would be a betrayal of herself. A queen becomes conscious of what she allows into her atmosphere. She pays attention to how her body feels around certain people. She notices whose presence calms her and whose presence drains her. She observes who respects her boundaries and who continuously pushes against them. She watches who nourishes her spirit and who chips away at it. And then she makes choices, not emotional ones, but intentional ones. She chooses distance. She chooses silence. She chooses protection. She chooses anything that maintains her inner balance. This selection of energy is not coldness, it is clarity. It is the understanding that when she gives her peace to everyone, she ends up with none for herself. It is realizing that if she allows toxic individuals to live rent-free in her mind, she ends up paying the price for their unresolved chaos. It is accepting that some people are not meant to be held. They are meant to be released, not because she hates them, but because she loves herself enough to let go of what disrupts her stability. There is a quiet strength in not absorbing everything around you, a discipline in allowing emotions to pass through you instead of settling inside you, a maturity in choosing your responses rather than reacting on impulse. A queen knows that emotional control is not about suppression, it is about direction. She directs her attention toward what elevates her. She directs her energy toward her purpose. She directs her time toward the people and environments that align with her growth. When someone speaks negativity, she does not internalize it. She recognizes that negativity speaks more about where they are in life than where she is. When someone tries to pull her into drama, she does not match their chaos. She remains calm. She remains grounded. She remains centered in her truth. She understands that emotional maturity is not about winning arguments. It is about choosing peace over battles that do not matter. And she chooses peace every time it costs her nothing but her ego. A queen who chooses her energy walks differently. She speaks differently. She thinks differently. She glows differently because her mind is no longer a battlefield. Her heart is no longer a dumping ground. Her spirit is no longer a sponge for the unresolved emotions of others. Instead, she becomes a sanctuary for her own growth, a temple for her own healing, a vessel for her own evolution. And the world feels the shift. People treat her with more respect, not because she demands it, but because she radiates it. Her boundaries become clear, not through anger, but through presence. Her energy becomes rare, not because she withholds warmth, but because she refuses to allow chaos to define her atmosphere. She does not chase validation, nor does she explain her choices. She simply protects the energy that allows her to rise into the highest version of herself. A version built not on absorption, but on intention, clarity, and inner mastery. A queen does not rush through life, nor does she move in panic, nor does she allow the world to push her into directions she did not choose. She walks with purpose, measured, intentional, and aware. Her steps are not fueled by pressure, but by clarity. She has learned that speed means nothing if it takes her in the wrong direction, and stillness means everything if it brings her back to herself. Her journey is not defined by how fast she moves, but by how deeply she understands why she is moving at all. Purpose is not loud, it is not frantic, it is not rooted in fear. Purpose is quiet. It grows in the stillness of reflection, in the calmness of awareness, in the wisdom of listening to one's own intuition. A queen knows that her path doesn't need to make sense to others because it was never theirs to walk. She does not waste energy explaining her pace, her choices, or her vision. She knows that the world often confuses distraction with opportunity, urgency with importance, and pressure with progress. But she has learned the rare discipline of separating noise from direction. There were times in her life when she moved out of fear, fear of being left behind, fear of disappointing others, fear of not being enough. She once chased things that drained her, ran after people who didn't value her, and rushed toward goals that didn't reflect her true self. And each time, she felt herself drifting further away from her spirit. It was only when she stopped, when she breathed, when she listened, that she realized the truth. The pressure she carried was never hers. It was placed on her by expectations, environments, and people who had no understanding of her inner world. So she began to walk differently. She began to walk slowly enough to feel her intuition. She began to walk intentionally enough to notice what aligned with her and what pulled her away from her center. She stopped running for acceptance. She stopped sprinting toward validation. She stopped moving just to prove something. Instead, she asked herself simple but powerful questions. Does this feel right? Does this bring peace? Does this align with who I am becoming? A queen's direction is built on answers, not assumptions. Walking with purpose requires confidence, not arrogance, but a deep trust in one's own path. A queen knows that she cannot bloom when she is constantly comparing her growth to others. She understands that the timing of her journey is uniquely hers. Some seasons are slow, some seasons are heavy, some seasons are full of breakthroughs, and none of them define her worth, they simply shape her strength. She no longer forces things. She no longer chases outcomes. She no longer tries to control every detail. She recognizes that what is meant for her will never require her to lose herself in the process. Purpose also reveals itself in the way she carries her presence. She enters rooms not to be seen, but to observe, to understand, to feel the energy around her. Her silence is intentional, not timid. Her words are thoughtful, not reactive. Her decisions are aligned with her values, not with the expectations of others. People sense her grounding, her steadiness, her certainty. They may not know the battles she has fought or the storms she has endured, but they feel the strength of a woman who no longer allows pressure to define her pace. When obstacles arise, she does not collapse into overwhelm. She pauses, she evaluates, she adjusts. She understands that not every obstacle is meant to stop her. Some are meant to redirect her towards something more aligned. She does not force solutions before their time. She trusts the unfolding. She trusts the lessons. She trusts the timing of her own growth. This trust becomes her shield against anxiety, her protection against doubt, and her anchor during uncertainty. A queen walking with purpose is not afraid of taking her time. She knows that what is rushed is rarely rooted, and what is rooted can never be taken from her. She chooses depth over speed, alignment over approval, clarity over chaos. Her journey becomes a reflection of her inner world, steady, intentional, meaningful. And with every step she takes, she moves closer to the woman she is meant to be, not because she is pressured into becoming her, but because she chooses to rise into her with full awareness and unwavering purpose. A queen knows that her life takes the shape of the standards she sets, not the standards she talks about, not the standards she hopes for, but the standards she consistently lives by. She understands that every boundary reflects her level of self-respect. Every no protects her peace, and every expectation she enforces becomes a mirror of how deeply she values herself. A queen does not apologize for her standards because she knows they are not walls, they are doors. Doors that allow the right energy in and keep the wrong energy out. There was a time when she tolerated too much, when she allowed people to take advantage of her kindness, to treat her presence casually, to benefit from her without offering anything in return. She tolerated inconsistency. She tolerated disrespect. She tolerated half efforts disguised as love, not because she didn't know better, but because she didn't yet understand how deeply her standards shape her life. Growth taught her that lowering her standards does not increase love, it only weakens her spirit. So she rose, and when she did, her world changed. Setting standards is an act of self-honoring. It is the moment she decides that her time is valuable, her heart is precious, and her energy is sacred. It is the moment she stops settling for connections that drain her, opportunities that diminish her, or environments that suffocate her. Standards are how she teaches people to treat her. They are the blueprint for every relationship she allows into her life, romantic, professional, personal, spiritual. When her standards are low, her experiences become heavy. But when her standards rise, her life begins to elevate. A queen does not fear losing people because of her standards. She understands that if her boundaries push someone away, that person was never aligned with the version of herself she is becoming. She does not beg for loyalty. She does not compromise her dignity to keep someone close. She does not bend herself into uncomfortable shapes so others can feel comfortable. She allows departures with grace, knowing that what leaves creates space for what is worthy to arrive. This is not arrogance, this is alignment. Her standards are not about perfection, they are about respect. Respect for her time, respect for her emotional well-being, respect for her growth, respect for her silence, respect for the vision she is building. She has learned that people mirror what she allows. When she accepts crumbs, she receives crumbs. When she accepts inconsistency, she attracts instability. But when she demands integrity, she attracts those who honor her. When she values honesty, she attracts truth. When she values peace, she attracts maturity. Her energy becomes a filter and her standards become the gatekeeper. Setting standards also requires courage. It means saying no when she used to say yes. It means choosing herself even when it disappoints others. It means walking away from what is familiar but unhealthy. It means refusing to participate in situations that lower her frequency. She understands that every time she betrays herself to please others, she weakens her spirit. But every time she honors her standards, she strengthens her soul. She rises a little higher, stands a little taller, and grows a little wiser. A queen's standards extend beyond relationships. They enter every corner of her life. In her personal routines, she chooses discipline over distraction. In her environment, she chooses cleanliness, beauty, and order because those things reflect inner clarity. In her career, she refuses to shrink her ambitions to fit into spaces that do not recognize her potential. In her mindset, she refuses to entertain thoughts that belittle her. She understands that her outer world is shaped by the inner rules she lives by, and these standards create her kingdom, a life where peace is non-negotiable, dignity is protected, and worth is acknowledged. People who enter her world feel the shift immediately. They are either inspired to rise to her level or fall away when they cannot match her integrity. She does not force either outcome, she simply remains herself. Her standards do the filtering, her energy does the teaching, her self-respect does the choosing. A queen does not wait for others to value her before she decides to value herself. She sets the tone, she sets the boundaries, she sets the expectations. Not because she is demanding, but because she is aware of her worth, and she knows that a woman who knows her worth becomes unstoppable, not through force, but through the quiet power of the standards she refuses to lower.